Couples therapists. Without breaking confidentiality, what are some relationships that instantly set off red flags? And do try and get them to work out. Family therapist here. Not exactly couples therapy, but there are key family dynamics that set off red flags for interpersonal relationships within a family. Whether it is between parents and kids, or simply kids. The most important piece comes from invalidation. This comes in many forms, from gaslighting to just simple denial of another's opinion. Most of the time, one or both parties are simply trying to be heard on an emotional level with an event or topic that was brought up, but the other party takes this as a personal attack on their ideal. We've all heard of or know people who will literally disagree with anything you say simply because you say. That is the invalidation I am referring to. Cliché Moral of the story: attack the problem, not each other. People rarely have the exact same stance in a conflict, but usually in healthy relationships have very similar core values. While two parents may disagree on how to parent a child, authoritarians, authoritative for example, the core value of caring about their children and wanting them to succeed is often the same. By determining they're within the same realm of issue, two parents with different ideals can see themselves as allies in a conflict rather than enemies. Two things that people believe are red flags of poor relationships are the amount of conflicts the couple has and yelling. Neither is inherently a characteristic of good or bad relationships, but may be perceived as more common in bad relationships. The reality of this situation is that healthy relationships but more intensely focus on addressing the core issue rather than the beliefs and self-worth of the other. As for yelling, in this case it's an emotional response to not feeling heard. While not the best response to distress, it also isn't an indicator of poor communication skills. What is an indicator of poor communication is yelling over the other person in an attempt to invalidate their point. Semi-related example: I had two people who were seemingly incredibly upset at each other. Parent felt that parent was out of the house too frequently and did not want to be a part of their children's life. Parent felt that parent didn't understand how busy their work schedule was. The fight revolved around parent seemingly not caring about the kids, until parent explained they felt parent was better at parenting and felt like they were only escalating the children when they started to parent. Parent, as understanding of the argument, quickly changed from "you don't love our children" to "you're scared to let our children down." As you can guess, the tone of the conversation changed dramatically, and there was no longer a sense that parent and on opposing side. The issue instead became helping build confidence in parent's parenting abilities, which parent was much more validating and supportive. Not all cases are this clean-cut by any means, but I figured I'd demonstrate the basic idea of finding core values and attacking an issue together. I saw a couple that was doing retaliatory cheating and telling each other about it. When they got through their anger, they decided to call a truce and made peace with their level of emotional maturity. I doubt it lasted. I don't know if I helped them or prolonged their suffering. It was their decision to come to counseling. So I think it was the help they wanted. Other clients realize what they really want is divorce counseling. What's the best way to behave civilly and minimize damage to the kids while we go our separate ways? 1. Couples in a tit-for-tat arrangement. For example, I cheated so you can have one night to cheat with whomever, or I violated your trust and did drugs. You can go out and do whatever for one night. It erodes trust and compounds the hurt. 2. That won't end. I've never seen a relationship bounce back where a partner is still in contact with their or is lying about. 3. Control to an excessive amount. I most commonly see partners having to send pictures, holding up a certain number of fingers, or proving that it's a live picture. This is abuse. 4. Overbearing parents and in-laws. I understand there's a ton of cultural nuance here, and I work with couples who have arranged marriages, as well as the South Asian community. However, when a spouse is more allied with their parents and calls them on speakerphone for fights, or often speaks ill of their partner to their parents, I usually see these couples stay very unhappily married for years. It's sad if it's not abuse and the partner is willing to end an affair and genuinely work on it. I'll help support. I think couples therapy is sometimes helping couples have the courage to voice what they really want. And that may be separation. Edit added another, and thanks for the awards, folks. Edit 2. I can't ethically dive into some of your comments or give specific resources, but get in touch with your local crisis line or community service agency, and they can direct you. Wishing all of you the best with your relationships and in-laws and parents. Relationship therapists here. One of the biggest red flags I see when working with a new couple is when they've totally forgotten the good. Part of relationship therapy is reconnecting a couple with what they like about each other, what initially attracted them to each other, and what the positives are between them. When people come in and they've been so unhappy for so long that they actually can't remember what it was like to be in love or to even like each other. They're just about hopeless. You don't have to be happy for therapy to work, but if you can't even reminisce about the good times, then the good times are probably over. People who approach therapy with the idea that they must convince the therapist that they're right and their partner's wrong, almost like they're complaining to a parent or boss to have them sort out the problems. When I see a couple in which one or both of the members are seeking to change something fundamental about the other person, we process where the need for the change comes from, and the person with the issue evaluates whether it is a deal breaker for them or not. We work on acceptance and tolerance of others. I also recommend my couples are also an individual therapy on their own. Edit. Typing this on my phone. Period after first sentence should be a comma. Edit. Thanks for the awards, Paul. Remember, we wake up every day and decide if we want to choose our partners. A long-term relationship is a multitude of days when you've woken up and said yes. Contempt. When I experience true contempt from one in the relationship, I know it is usually over. Look towards a peaceful ending at the point if possible. It's very easy to work out when one person knowingly prioritizes their own wants and needs over their partner. Relationships like this are often doomed because the person simply doesn't care enough to make any meaningful change. Someone else's response made me think of this one. When a partner raises objection to meeting with me individually, during the first session I share that during assessment, I like to meet with them both together and once each individually. Occasionally I'll have partners who suddenly become very critical or suspicious about this, asking why I do that, and is it ethical? And the classic, I've never heard of a marriage counsellor doing that before. It goes beyond curiosity or simply inquiring about practice. There is an incredulous and almost panicked tone to it, and sure enough, finally, they turn out to be some variation of controlling, manipulative, abusive. Edit, just to clarify for a few of the comments, I'm not talking about doing concurrent, ongoing individual and couples session. This is just a one-off individual assessment session. My first 3 sessions are usually 1 couples session, 2 partner individual, and 3 partner individual. After that, we are typically only as a couple, unless another one-off is needed for further assessment down the road. If needed, I refer for ongoing concurrent individual or pause for more intensive and thanks for the silver and awards. What about it? Instead of taking ownership and responsibility for their contribution to the degradation of the relationship, or both parties simply point out an example of the other exhibiting a similar behavior. It's a red flag because it illustrates their lack of self-awareness and poor communication skills. Communication is key when trying to mend a tattered relationship, because without respectful communication, the conflict recovery process can never begin. In the conflict recovery model, both parties agree to the terms under which they will communicate. No yelling, no interrupting, no "I told you so's," etc. Each party gets a chance to share how the other's actions make them feel. Then they each propose their solutions and identify where they made assumptions or where they got triggered and why. Then they identify where they're willing to compromise. Next, we create an actionable plan with deadlines, and we monitor the progress to see if the proposed solutions were effective. Emo, everything can go to shit, but once communication stagnates, you are in real trouble. So even if you're arguing, you're still doing OK. You just need to work on how you're communicating.